In this video, I'm going to show you step-by-step instructions on how to replace the battery on the iPhone SE 2020. To begin the repair, take a pentalobe screwdriver and remove the 2 screws either side of the lightning connector on the phone. Once those screws are out of the way, we're going to take a single-sided razor blade and create a small gap between the chassis of the device and the edge of the screen. I always keep it on this right-hand side of the button, just so there's no risk of damaging the home button because that sits on this side. And then we're going to lift up slightly with the small gap and then begin running the guitar pick into that gap, only inserting it a couple of millimeters of the way and running it along the left-hand edge, back along the bottom edge, and then along the right-hand edge of the screen to separate it away from the chassis. Once you've worked your way around the 3 edges, leave the top edge, don't worry about that because we're just going to lift from the bottom, wiggle it from side to side, and then we should be able to now flick open the screen, just like opening a book from the back cover. To prop the screen up, place a heavy object like a mug behind the screen so that you can free up both hands. Now we can take a crosshead screwdriver and remove the 4 screws that hold down this shield, where underneath we'll find the battery connector and the screen connectors. Just take note that the screws are all different sizes, so it's important to make a note of where you remove each screw from. There's 2 short ones there, and 2 long ones there and there. Use tweezers to lift the shield out of the way, and then use a plastic spudger to disconnect the battery to isolate power from the device, followed by the 2 screen connectors just there. To continue disassembling this one, move up to the top of the screen now and remove the 3 crosshead screws that hold down this other shield. Lift up the shield with tweezers, and then again with the plastic spudger to disconnect this flex cable here. This will allow us now to remove the screen from the phone and store that safely for later. This is a good time as well to remove any adhesive that's on the back of the screen just before popping it down as well. The battery's held down with some really awful double-sided tape, and the easiest way that I've found to remove it is to pry it out, but we're going to try and remove it the safe way by pulling on the pull tabs that are meant to be designed to get it out easy. So the easiest way to get those out is to apply some isopropyl alcohol all the way around the battery and let it soak in for a couple of minutes. Once that alcohol is soaked in, I'm going to use tweezers to get hold of the battery adhesive to pull out each individual battery tab. And there's 4 of these. We used to use heat on the iPhone 7s, 6s and all those ones, but I found that isopropyl alcohol on its own now is probably the easiest way to remove these, other than doing the pry of shame. That's 2 out of 4 out quite nicely. I'll move on to this side. You want to be careful here because there is a flex cable for that volume flex or volume buttons, so don't go poking that with your tweezers. Just take your time pulling these out. If they snap, like I say, you can always resort to the pry of shame. Just whatever you do, don't use metal tools when you're prying these batteries out. I recommend using something like the guitar pick to get underneath it and remove it that way, or if you've got a suction cup what's small enough, then that will work as well. With that one removed, we should be able to just drop the battery out just like that, and then we'll use a clean room wipe just to make sure that any of the alcohol is evaporated. And also, whilst we're playing around with the chassis, we'll remove any of the leftover adhesive. If you find that it's a little bit dusty or mucky, then take a minute to brush away any dust or dirt, but this one's pretty clean, so we'll just put that to one side now. The battery that we're using for this repair is an IP9 battery that comes from Replace Base. You get the battery, of course, a replacement dust and moisture resistant seal, and the adhesive, which we'll start with. And with these battery adhesives, you usually pull the blue side first, and then always have the sort of circular shape, the wider side of it, so that side goes to the same side as the connector. And then it's a good idea as well to just make sure you put some pressure on these battery stickers because they have a tendency to not stick very well until pressure is applied, and then you'll end up wasting it. And if it only comes with one and you've only got one, you're going to make a mess of it. Peel off the pink film, then peel off these last two bits of blue film, roll them over. Same on this side, roll that one over. And now this battery is looking pretty good and ready to install. So we'll get the chassis back this time. Now it's very important at this point, for alignment purposes, to connect the battery first to the motherboard. So line it up and connect it, then place it into the chassis. If you do it the other way around, you've got a risk that you put it too far that way or too far that way, and then this doesn't connect properly. Whereas if you connect it first, you're going to have no problems with alignment. We can now disconnect the battery with a plastic tool, and now we're going to get the dust and moisture resistant seal, and we'll peel off the first layer of it, then line it up in the top left corner. Make sure that it lines up on the left hand edge, the bottom, and then the rest will follow suit like that. We can now peel off the top layer of film, and this one comes in, it's only a single layer to remove, which makes these a bit awkward, I find. So the verdict is that it's not the best quality adhesive with these ones. But I know for a fact that they are very good batteries. Now we can reinstall the screen. Just make sure that that battery is disconnected before you start lining up the screen connectors. And the easiest way to do this is to offer up the small connector first with your thumb. Apply pressure once you've got it lined up, followed by the longer connector. Make sure that that sits down right. And then for this top one, I like to get hold of it with the tweezers like this, line it up with those, and then apply pressure to secure it down. We'll pop the mug behind the phone again to prop it up, then line up this shield first, followed by the 3 crosshead screws that held that down in place. Don't forget, if you've made it this far into the video, it's got to be worth clicking that subscribe button, because we post content like this every single week, if not 2 and 3 times a week. So click the subscribe button, and if you're having a go at this repair yourself, let me know how you get on in the comments below. With those 3 screws secured, we can reconnect the battery now. Just apply pressure and make sure that it's sat in well. And then the shield goes on top. And then just remember, I can't stress this enough, that the long screw goes in this one and the other long screw in this one. And if you put them 2 in first, then there's no way that you're going to put the long screws in this one or that one. So then we've got just the 2 small ones going in there. And this is ready for closing up. So close it up, just fold it down, and then it's just the same as we did to open it in reverse. Make sure that the top of the screen goes in first, just like that, and then resecure each side, applying pressure, before finally resecuring the 2 pentalobe screws in the bottom of the device. With those resecured, you might find that because the battery has been removed on this, you have to plug it into the lightning connector to turn it on. And that just about concludes how to replace the battery on the iPhone SE 2020. Please note that this repair will cause the non-genuine part warning in settings. However, I will in the future show you how to avoid that. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.